Hey, can you show me how to make a thumbnail? Ooh, your thumbnails are sick. Can you make a tutorial? How to make your thumbnail? Well, as you can see, I've gotten this question asked quite a bit of times, and I think it's about time that I answer it. So how do I make my thumbnails? Google Images, you doofus! Nah, I'm just playing with you guys. But in all seriousness, this is gonna be a tutorial on how I make my thumbnails for free in Paint.net. So yeah, let's get straight into the tutorial. Alright, so once you've opened up Paint.net, you want to go ahead and press this little button right here that will create a new canvas, and you want to change the dimensions to 1920 by 1080, and this will create a 1080p canvas for you to work on. Now that you've made your canvas, you can start and move on to step number 1, which would be to select a background. Now you're probably wondering how you select a background, and it's actually pretty easy. You just go to Google Images and select any background that you think looks good. I think this one with the mountains looks good. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is copy it, then go into my blank canvas in Paint.net, and then go ahead and paste it onto there. Alright, so if this thing pops up saying that your image is too big, you just want to go ahead and click Keep Canvas Size so that it won't change the size of the canvas, because that would be really bad if it did. Alright, so one touch that I like to add is I like to go ahead and go to the Effects tab, then go ahead and go down and look for blurs, and you won't have this many effects. I just have a lot of plugins. So once you go ahead and find blurs, click on average blur, then go ahead and turn the radius all the way up, and then click OK. Now this will blur your background, and it'll make it look a lot better in the end. Now another touch that I like to do is add this thing called a vignette, and it's sort of like this cool shadowy thing that makes everything pop a bit more. So to do it, just go ahead and create a new layer on your Layers tab. Then go ahead and click paste, assuming that you already copied one from the internet, and then just go ahead and then scale it up to fit the proportions of your background. Mine was a bit small, so I just clicked and dragged the thing to scale it up. Alright, so for the final step, you want to go ahead and merge the layer down into your background by pressing that button, and you should be done with your background. So now we can move on to step number 2. Alright, so now we can go ahead and move on to step number 2, which would be text with an exclamation point. That's what I typed. Sorry, this is pre-recorded footage. So first of all, what you want to go ahead and do is you want to go ahead and select the little T on your toolbar, then go ahead and select a font and a font size. I selected, I don't know, 200 or so. And then you can go ahead and type whatever the frick you want. I went ahead and typed free, since my video is about how to make free thumbnails in Paint.net. Now what you can go ahead and do is duplicate your text layer and select the one below, and then go to your toolbar, select your magic wand tool, hold shift, and then select the layer below with your magic wand tool. Now you can go ahead to your paint bucket, change the color to black, hold shift, and then go ahead and click down, and that should change the color to black. And yeah, so now you have a black layer of text below your white layer of text. Now you're probably wondering, well, why the heck would I ever want to do this? Well, it's because it'll make a cool looking shadow. So you can go ahead and adjust it to what you think looks good, and then yeah, just sort of make sure it looks good, and then go ahead to your layer tool, and go ahead and merge the white layer down to your black layer, and it should make it one solid layer like that. Now you see, if you go ahead to effects, and my effects tab is a bit laggy, so just go ahead to effects, then go down to object, drop shadow. You'll need the drop shadow plugin for this. Change the color to black, and then the blur radius down to 0, and then that should make this cool looking outline thing for your text. And yeah, I like it because I think it gives it sort of a 3D depth effect, and I just think it looks really, really cool. You don't have to do it, but I just think it looks cool, so you should do it. Alright, so now that you have your cool looking shadow text, 3D, I don't know, you can go ahead and move it around, scale it up, scale it down, make it smaller, make it bigger, like that. And yeah, so you can go ahead and move it, rotate it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put mine in the corner and rotate it a bit, maybe make it a bit bigger, a bit smaller, I don't know. And then yeah, so if you want to add more text, and you can just create a new layer and just do that same process over again. It's actually pretty simple. So just remember, you add the white text and then the black text below it. You do the two layers and you merge them together, and then you add the drop shadow. You can see that this text is a little too big, so I had to make it a bit smaller. So what I did was I was just playing around with the font size until I found a good size. Make sure that your text is capitalized too. You gotta have that good grammar. And yeah, so once you did the thing where you duplicate the layer, go ahead, use your magic wand tool, go back to your paint bucket, and go ahead, change it to black, blah 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 blah, hold shift, click down, and then take your selection tool and then go ahead and move that below it. You can go ahead and sort of fine tune it with your arrow keys, so keep on doing that and go ahead and merge the two layers down so that it's one solid layer like I just did there. And then you can go back to your effects tab and go ahead and do repeat drop shadow. And yeah, so that's your text done, and you can just move it around and move it, rotate it, scale it up, scale it down, blah 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 blah. And however you want it is entirely up to you. You can change the white to pink or to blue or to whatever freaking color you want. I just think the white with the black outline personally looks the best because it's plain and simple and it just looks good. Yee. Alrighty, so now that you're done with your text, you can go ahead and move on to step 3, which would be pictures and other stuff that you might want to add. Now, I know that you can just do a background with text, but that's a little boring, so what you can do is you can just go to Chrome and select whatever images you think would help make your thumbnail better. And since mine is about YouTube thumbnails, I think that I can add the YouTube logo to make it a bit better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and copy the paste the YouTube logo into there just like that, and sort of just move it around and yeah, just sort of play around with the layers. Now you can see how it's obscuring the thumbnails a bit, so I'm going to move it below the thumbnail so that the thumbnails is on top. And I'm also going to move it above the free so that it obscures the free a little bit. So it's like one sandwich with the YouTube being in the middle, thumbnails on top, and free being on the bottom. Now, one thing that you can go ahead and do is you can go back to drop shadow and you can change it to white and change your blur radius a bit up to add sort of a glowy effect. And I think that looks a little cool. So you can go ahead and render it, and yeah. Now, if you want to go ahead and add some more images, all you need to do is just go ahead to your Layers tab, then click on the New Layer button, which is like the little plus green thing. Go ahead and click it, and that should create a new layer. Make sure you're on your new layer, and then take another image. And since I'm doing Paint.net, I think I'm going to add the Paint.net logo. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy it, and then go back to Paint.net, make sure I'm on my new layer, then go ahead and click the paste icon, and go ahead and move it. And I think it needs to be a lot bigger. And a cool tip I recommend you do is hold shift and it'll like scale it up proportional to proportion. I don't know how to say this, but it'll just like scale it up with proportion. So go ahead and hold shift when you scale your things up, and it should make it look a lot better. So you can go ahead and move it and sort of just place it there. Now if you want to add another image, you can do the same thing where you create a new layer on your Layers tab, which I do eventually, or not. I guess I just add the glowy effect with repeat drop shadow. You can do that again. I like the glow effect. You don't have to do it. You can mess around with the layers, move it down, move it up. And yeah, so what I'm going to go ahead and do is create another image with the new layer button. Make sure that I'm on my blank new layer that I just created. Then go back into Chrome and then select the Photoshop logo or whatever freaking picture you want. You don't have to do this. You don't have to add as many pictures that I did. You can add like 1 or 2, or you can even add more. So once you do that, it's the same process over and over. Just sort of move it around, twist it, turn it, make it bigger, make it smaller. I don't know, it's entirely up to you on how you want it. And so one thing that I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to add a shadow to it. Or actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to go ahead and add a red X over it. Since this is about not using Photoshop, I'm going to go ahead and put a red X over it. So yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and scale that down. Make sure that you're on a new layer as well. Make it a bit smaller. Put it over the Photoshop logo to show that we're not using Photoshop in this. And so yeah, now we can go ahead and move on to the 4th and final step, which isn't really necessary, but I like to go ahead and do it, and that step is final touches. Now, final touches can include anything from adding your logo in the bottom right hand corner, which I always do, but it's not the bottom right hand corner, it's the top left hand corner. And the way I add my logo is I have this little like cool triangle thing that I just have. I'll show it eventually. There it is. Okay, yeah, so I just have this little cool triangle thing with my logo on it. And yeah, you can make this. It's pretty simple. You just put 2 triangles in your logo, and then just go ahead and paste it in the corner. And yeah, you can go ahead and scale it about, and then boom, you have your logo on it. Now you can move it above the free thumbnails or whatever you have on your thumbnail, but since I don't want to do that, I'm going to leave the free above, and I'm going to leave it basically on the bottom. And yeah, so that is pretty much everything done. So if you guys like this video, then please be sure to leave a like on this video, and suggest other tutorials that you guys want me to do in the comment section down below. And if you really like this video, then please be sure to subscribe. It would mean so much to me. And yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Eat your veggies.